Real tears. Droplets sliding down its leaves like sorrow clinging to something still alive. Olga stood in her kitchen, frozen. Her apartment was quiet, her suitcase still half unpacked from her trip, and yet, there it was. A single houseplant sitting in a puddle of water, its petals glistening as if mourning. All the other plants were dead, dried out, wilted, neglected during her time away. Her neighbor, who had promised to water them, had been dealing with her sick mother and simply forgot. But not this one. This plant, the one her late husband had brought home just a few weeks before he died, was still alive. And weeping. She remembered something her grandmother once told her. If a plant cries without reason, someone is grieving through it. That night, Olga couldn't sleep. Her vacation had been supposed to help. The massages, the spa, the peaceful mountain air. A break from the grief. A distraction from the silence her apartment now carried since Artyom had passed. But now, it all felt wrong. She picked up her phone and made a decision she'd been postponing for too long. She drove to see blind Madame Grace. "Come in, child," the old woman said, without even turning her head. "You've brought something heavy with you." Olga sat down. "It's about a flower. And my husband." Grace nodded. "Tell me everything. I came back from vacation, and all my plants were dead. Except one. The one he gave me. But it was sitting in water, like it had been crying. And when I touched its leaves, they were cold, wet. As if someone was mourning through it." Grace didn't speak. She just reached out. "Give me your hands." Olga placed her trembling fingers in the older woman's palms. They were warm, soft, but buzzing with something that felt ancient. "This isn't the plant that's crying," Grace finally said. "It's the person who used to care for it. Their sorrow is trapped inside it." Olga's breath caught. "But it was Artyom who gave it to me." "I know. And I also know. You didn't wear mourning. You left right after he died." "It wasn't like that," Olga said quickly. "I wasn't escaping. I was trying to survive. I loved him. I still love him. But everything reminded me of him. The bed, the dishes, his books. I had to get out." "You owe him an apology," Grace said gently. "Not because you moved on, but because his soul feels abandoned." Tears welled in Olga's eyes. "What should I do?" "Go to him. Say the words your heart is too proud to say. If you don't, this flower will keep crying. And the sorrow will find new ways to break you." That night, Olga called her friend Tonya. "I think I made a mistake." "What do you mean?" "I think Artyom's angry. Or hurt. Or something. There's this flower, and—" "Olga," Tonya interrupted, "you nursed that man until the end. You barely slept. You were there for every doctor, every pill, every hard breath. If anyone should feel peace, it's him. I still feel guilty. You need to stop punishing yourself." "I went to Grace." Tonya sighed. "You and your mystical phases." She said the flower belonged to someone before Artyom. And that person is still mourning through it. That's actually a little creepy. She told me to apologize. So I will. I'm going to the cemetery tomorrow. All right. But first, show me some vacation pictures. Distract me before I cry too. They laughed, and for a brief moment, Olga felt normal again. She showed Tonya photos, the mountains, the spa, the open-air market. And one last picture. "Who's that?" Tonya asked, pointing to a tall man with broad shoulders and kind eyes. "Oh, that's Boris. We met at the market." "Boris, huh? Didn't waste any time, did you?" "It's not like that. We just talked. He helped me carry some bags. He's nice." "You told him about Artyom?" "Of course. And he respected it." Tonya didn't look convinced. But she let it go. The next day, Olga visited Artyom's grave. The breeze was soft, and the sun had just started to dip behind the clouds. She brought flowers. Not from a shop, but cut from the little communal garden near her building. Artyom always hated store-bought ones. She knelt by the gravestone and rested her hand against the marble. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have stayed. I should have said more. I miss you so much, and I don't know how to carry all this pain anymore." The wind stirred. She closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, the heaviness in her chest loosened, just a little. On the way back, fate twisted the knife a little deeper. At the gate to the cemetery, she ran into Tamara Ivanivna, Artyom's mother. "Oh, now you visit," the older woman snapped. "Too busy vacationing. I needed time to breathe. Must be nice. I haven't had a day's peace since he left." Olga stayed silent. "He was my only child. You think running away from his grave would make the pain smaller? You think anyone else could have taken care of him better than you?" "No," Olga said. "I don't." "Then show it. Visit. Light a candle. Mourn like a wife." "I will. I promise." Tamara looked away. "And Stepan's not doing well either. His heart's worse every week. You could at least check on him too." "I will. Soon. You said that last time." That evening, a pipe burst in Olga's kitchen. The floor flooded in minutes. She called the plumber. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. In desperation, she messaged Boris. He arrived within 30 minutes. By the end of the hour, the pipe was fixed. The kitchen was mopped. And Olga was grateful beyond words. "You're amazing," she told him. "I'm just useful," he replied, wiping his hands. "But if you want to thank me, come out for coffee sometime." Olga hesitated. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "No pressure," Boris said, smiling kindly. "Whenever you are. Even if it's never." But just as she was starting to feel calm again, another storm was coming. And it would begin, like most storms do, with a knock on the door. And a voice she didn't want to hear. Tamara Ivanivna. And she wasn't alone. "Don't bother pretending," Tamara Ivanivna snapped the moment Olga opened the door. "I know what I saw." Olga blinked. "Good evening to you too." "Oh, don't get smart with me. I brought your bowls back. You know, the ones you left at my place after Artyom's birthday. Before he got sick. Before you started dragging strange men into your apartment." "What are you talking about?" Tamara stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "That man. The one I saw here. With his smug little smile and toolbox. What's his name?" "Boris." "What is he, your new boyfriend?" "He's a friend. He helped fix a pipe that burst." "Oh please. You think I don't know how this works? My son's barely cold in the ground and you're already cozying up to someone new. That's not fair. Isn't it? Then tell me this. Were you seeing him before Artyom died?" "What? Absolutely not. You were always too quick to smile, too quick to move on. I warned him about you." Olga flinched like she'd been slapped. Her throat burned with all the words she wanted to say, all the ways she'd loved and mourned Artyom, but none of it would matter. Not to Tamara. "You've said enough," Olga finally whispered. "Please leave." Tamara's eyes narrowed. Poor Artyom. He deserved better. And then she was gone. That night, Olga couldn't sleep. Again. Her skin itched. Not metaphorically, literally. By morning, red welts had bloomed across her arms like burns. They stung, then itched, then burned again. When she looked in the mirror, they'd spread to her chest and neck. Panicked, she called her doctor. He couldn't explain it. Could be stress. Could be an allergic reaction. But I've never seen a rash like this. He ordered tests. Nothing came back conclusive. Olga tried ointments, creams, herbal remedies. Nothing helped. The rash spread. Her reflection became something she didn't recognize, like her body was rejecting her. And then she saw it. The flower. The one that had cried. It was crying again. But this time, it wasn't just tears. Dark splotches marred its petals. The same color. The same shape as the ones on her skin. She dropped the watering can. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." But in her heart she knew. She remembered what Grace had warned her. If you don't ask for forgiveness, the sorrow will find new ways to break you. And worse, she had thrown the flower away after the first warning. In a moment of panic and denial, she'd tossed it into the trash. She called Grace. "I messed up. I know. Can I fix it?" "That depends," Grace said. "Whose plant was it?" "I thought it was Artyom's. But now I don't know. He brought it home, but he never said where it came from." "You need to find out. Quickly." Olga thought hard. If it wasn't Artyom's, then whose was it? The only other person close to him was Stepan, his father. She remembered Tamara saying something about a plant he'd gifted her. A rare flower. Delicate. Moody. Capricious, she'd said, when they were still on speaking terms. Olga rushed to her photo albums. Buried between snapshots of birthdays and lazy mornings, she found it, a picture of Artyom handing a potted plant to Tamara. It looked exactly like the crying flower. She gasped. It had been Stepan's gift to Tamara. And Artyom had taken it, maybe to protect it, maybe by accident, and given it to Olga. Which meant she hadn't just neglected someone's gift. She had destroyed a symbol of love between two old people. And now that man was dying. She had to fix it. She picked up the phone and called Tamara. But the call went straight to voicemail. Again. And again. So Olga did the only thing left. She drove to Tamara's house. "You have some nerve showing up here," Tamara said when she opened the door. "Please," Olga said. "Just hear me out. I told you, I don't want your apologies. I don't want your explanations. You've done enough." "No, I haven't," Olga said. "Not until I make this right. I need a cutting from the plant. The one Stepan gave you. Please." Tamara's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I destroyed the original. And I'm sorry. Truly. But I need to make this right." Tamara opened her mouth to say something cruel. Then a voice called from inside. "Who is it?" It was weak. Raspy. "Stepan." Tamara hesitated. Then stepped aside. "You want to talk to him? Fine. But don't expect a warm welcome." Stepan was lying on the couch, thin and pale, his skin like crumpled parchment. His eyes flicked up as Olga entered. He didn't smile. "I'm sorry," Olga said quietly. "For everything. I didn't mean to shut you out. I didn't mean to keep you from saying goodbye. I thought there was more time." He didn't answer. Tears filled her eyes. "Please. Let me make this right. I didn't know the plant was yours. I didn't know it meant something. If I had, I never would've." "I forgive you," he said suddenly. Olga gasped. "You, what?" He nodded. "You were young. Scared. We all were. But you took care of my son. You loved him. That's enough." Tamara entered the room and sat beside him, quiet for once. Olga stepped forward. May I take a cutting from the flower?" Tamara looked at Stepan. He gave a slight nod. Wordlessly, Tamara walked to the windowsill, snipped a small branch from the blooming plant, and handed it to Olga. "Don't kill this one," she said. "I won't." That night, Olga repotted the cutting. She watered it gently. Spoke to it like it was something sacred. First leaf, regret da. Second leaf, forgiveness da. Third leaf, healing. She repeated the words each morning and each night. The rash didn't fade immediately, but it stopped spreading. And for the first time in weeks, she felt like she could breathe again. But the journey wasn't over. Because the flower still hadn't grown. Not yet. And Boris was still waiting. Waiting for her to decide whether her heart still belonged to the past, or had the courage to reach for the future. The new cutting sat quietly on the windowsill, tucked inside a clay pot Olga had painted herself years ago. It hadn't bloomed yet. No leaves. No sign of life. But it was hers now, truly. And it was growing in the right soil. At least, she hoped so. Every morning, Olga whispered the words Madame Grace had taught her. First leaf, regret da. Second leaf, forgiveness da. Third leaf, healing. It became a kind of ritual. A promise. Not to Artyom. Not even to Stepan. But to herself. Still, the days felt heavy. Boris kept his distance. Respectful. Patient. But Olga felt him in the corners of her life. The way he still texted, still asked how she was sleeping, still offered to pick up groceries if she didn't feel like going out. She hadn't replied in 3 days. She didn't know what to say. How do you talk to someone who makes you feel seen, when you still feel half buried? That night, she stood over the sink, washing dishes slowly, when a message from Boris lit up her phone. I know you need space. Just wanted to say, the world doesn't expect you to be okay. And I don't either. I'm here however you need. Olga stared at the message until her vision blurred. She didn't deserve this kindness. She tapped a reply. Thank you. That means more than you know. She didn't send it. She deleted it instead. The next morning, the cutting had grown a single leaf. She gasped when she saw it. Small, fragile, soft green against the darker soil, but there. Alive. She reached out to touch it, then stopped. No. Let it grow. She went to the sink and splashed water on her face. Her rash still hadn't faded completely, but it no longer burned. It just sat there, like a reminder. Or a scar. Later that week, Olga kept her promise and visited Tamara and Stepan again. This time, she brought soup. And flowers. Not the cursed kind, just a simple bouquet from the corner market. Tamara took the flowers wordlessly and placed them in water. Stepan smiled weakly. That plant of yours doing anything yet? 1 leaf, Olga said. He nodded slowly. That's how it starts. Tamara poured tea and sat across from her. I still don't like what you did, she said bluntly. I still think you moved on too fast. I haven't moved on, Olga said. Tamara's eyes softened. Just a bit. Good. They sipped in silence for a while. Then Stepan cleared his throat. You know, Artyom never wanted you to become a ghost. Olga looked up. He told me once. If anything happens to me, he said, don't let Olga disappear into grief. She deserves more life than that. Tears filled her eyes. He said that. Stepan nodded. You were his whole world. He worried about how hard you'd take it. I took it hard, she whispered. I know. We all did. But, we're still here. That means something. When she returned home that evening, something felt different. Lighter. Not easy. Not painless. Just less haunted. She checked the plant. Still 1 leaf. But now, it looked sturdier. Stronger. She smiled. Thank you, she whispered to it. And for the first time since Artyom's death, she meant it. The next day, she heard from Boris again. A voice message this time. She listened with her eyes closed. Hey, just wondering how you're holding up. No pressure. Just thought I'd say hi. And that I'm making borscht. If you change your mind about that rain check. She smiled despite herself. And this time she replied. That actually sounds kind of perfect. When? Their dinner wasn't a date. At least, that's what Olga told herself. But Boris had lit candles. And cleaned his entire apartment. And put on music. Not romantic, just something low and jazzy that made her feel like maybe her heart wasn't broken, just bruised. They talked for hours. About everything. About nothing. He didn't ask for more. Didn't press her. Just listened. And laughed. And looked at her like she was someone worth waiting for. And when she got up to leave, he walked her to the door. "I'm not asking for anything," he said. "Just letting you know I'm still here." "I know," she said. And then she kissed him. Quick. Light. Not a promise. Just a thank you. But it felt like spring. The next morning, her plant had grown a second leaf. Olga stared at it for a long time. Then she placed her hand over her heart and said the words again. First leaf, regret. Second leaf, forgiveness. She didn't say the third line yet. That one still needed time. But she was getting there. And for the first time in months, Olga believed she might actually bloom again. The day the third leaf appeared, Olga didn't notice it right away. She was in the middle of cleaning out a cabinet when the scent of fresh soil stopped her. Not a strong smell, just a faint trace, like the earth itself was trying to get her attention. She turned. There it was. The third leaf. Bright. Confident. Whole. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Then she sat down beside the little plant and smiled through her tears. Third leaf, she whispered. Healing. She remembered what Madame Grace had told her. When all three leaves bloom, your apology has been heard. And the heart you wounded might be willing to let go. That afternoon, Olga returned to Tamara and Stepan's house with a small box tied in twine. Inside was the thriving plant. I think it belongs to you now, she said softly. Tamara looked at it, expression unreadable. That the same one you stole? No, Olga said. That one never grew. This one was grown honestly. From regret. From love. From care. Tamara took the box and looked at it for a long time. Then she stepped aside. Come in. Inside, Stepan was sitting in his chair, reading the paper. He looked up when Olga entered. Brought you a gift, she said. He glanced at the plant. Then nodded. You've done well, he said. Artyom would be proud. Those words hit deeper than she expected. Tamara stepped forward. I still don't know if I'll ever fully forgive you, she said. But I believe you tried. I believe you loved him. I still do, Olga said. And you're not replacing him? No. Just learning to keep living. Tamara looked down at the plant. Then keep living. And come by more often. Olga exhaled. It wasn't perfect. But it was enough. That night, Boris invited her over for dinner again. This time, she didn't hesitate. She brought wine. He brought dessert. And at one point, while they sat on the floor sharing stories and spooning ice cream from the same bowl, he looked at her and said, You seem lighter. I am. Wanna tell me why? She hesitated, then nodded. So she told him. Everything. The flower. The ghost of Artyom. The guilt. The rash. The prayers. The forgiveness. Boris didn't laugh. He didn't raise an eyebrow. He just listened. And when she was done, he said, I don't think that's crazy. You don't. I think grief is a strange kind of magic. It makes us do wild things. See strange things. Feel too much. Or feel nothing at all. She blinked. He continued, softer. But I also think love, the real kind, doesn't die. It just changes. Olga stared at him for a long moment. Then leaned forward and kissed him again. This time, not a thank you. A choice. Weeks passed. Olga's rash faded. The flower continued to thrive, now living in Tamara's kitchen window. Boris and Olga didn't rush into anything. They walked, talked, held hands when they felt like it, kissed when they didn't want to speak. He never asked her to forget. She never asked him to wait. They just let the days unfold, one quiet joy at a time. On the anniversary of Artyom's death, Olga returned to the cemetery with a single white lily. She stood in front of the headstone and whispered, "I'm okay. Finally, . And I'll always love you. But I'm letting go now." The wind stirred. And somewhere deep inside her, something let go too. That night, she dreamed of him. Not sick. Not pale. Just smiling. On their old balcony. In the shirt he always wore when he wanted to impress her. "You did good," he said. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know. But scared means you're still alive." She smiled through her dream tears. Then he reached out and touched her hand. "You have a whole life ahead of you. Go live it." And then he faded. Gently. Like a sunset. Olga woke up to a soft knocking on her door. Boris. Holding coffee. And a small pot with a tiny cutting of his own. "Thought we could grow something together," he said. Olga looked at the pot. Then at him. And nodded. She took his hand. Led him inside. And placed the new pot on the windowsill. Right beside the space where Artyom's flower once stood. A new beginning. Rooted in truth. Watered by time. And finally. Ready to bloom.